Hello and welcome to the CIECAst. This is Fred Iantorno, Executive Director of CIECA. In today's presentation, Dawn Mortimer of Verisk will discuss how to build a roadmap to right touch claims and proactive loss mitigation. She will also talk about solving the many-to-many problem by utilizing the exchange model framework to collect data from the OEMs, the TSPs, and other providers in order to streamline operations and efficiency. With 30 years of experience in insurance, Dawn has served the industry in many capacities, including strategy, marketing, information technology, claims, agency, and product lines. At Verisk, she is currently responsible for leading personal auto product development around Internet of Things and telematics with suppliers and insurance companies to develop new products, services, and business opportunities. During the webinar, if you have any questions, please type your questions in the webinar navigation pane. We will answer as many as possible at the end of the presentation. I want to thank everyone for spending your time with us today and to Dawn for sharing her insight and expertise with us. I will now turn this over to our presenter, Dawn Mortimer.
Wherever you are across the globe, wanted to share how telematics is driving that right touch claims, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. Just to kind of cover off and highlight what we're going to share today, give you a little brief background on Verisk, because you may not know who we are, explain the Verisk Data Exchange and how we go about enabling data for insurance and other purposes. Some of the current challenges we're all feeling in the industry across our whole ecosystem, whether you're an automotive company or a telematics service provider, an insurance company, a body shop, a supplier, you name it, right? There's a lot of challenges. And some of the new opportunities we have with more data being enabled. And then talk a little bit more about what we see as sort of this new phase or phenomenon from taking first notice of loss to instant notice of loss, and then just some key takeaways for the day. So first, who is Verisk? You know, being that we've been in the business for over 50-some years, serving different industries such as property casualty, energy, and specialized markets, so anything that comes out of the ground, and financial services, we do have one of the world's most effective and responsible data analytics capabilities across the planet, really solving a number of different distinctives for the markets, right? We have unique data assets enabling that to help us all understand how we can make better decision making, deep domain expertise in insurance as well as other factors such as financial and energy. And then first to market innovations, a lot of the things that have come about over the last 50-some years with Verisk and the companies that are within our family have changed the way that we do business across the planet. And then deep integrations with customer workflows. So we're deeply embedded in with credit card companies as well as property and casualty insurers, and over $20 billion in market capitalization. We're found on the NASDAQ and the S&P 500. And we have a number of insurance solutions across not only auto, but property as well. Probably the one thing that for this webinar and for the folks on the call, we have over 1 billion claims happening across the United States, and one of the insurance industry leaders in this factor. So a little bit more about the Verisk Data Exchange. So when we looked across the market and looked at the Internet of Things and telematics and really realized that there's so many data sources and partners out there, from personal auto telematics, commercial auto, smart homes, industrial wearables, smart cities, you name it. There's tons and tons of data coming into the marketplace, and how do we leverage it all? How do we make sense of it and use it in the moment when we need it? And so what we have done is we've built this data exchange to bring in those data, develop and harmonize the data, normalize it so it can be used for insurance and automotive purposes. we have filings with insurance commissions across the United States and other countries. We've been data stewards for a long time and provide additional services to enable that data for better use. And we see this happening in a number of aspects, especially across the insurance industry, whether, insurers and automotive industry is looking to research and understand, the insights and the data that they do have, to how do you reach and approach the right customers for what they're looking for in the moment. And then thinking from an insurance company standpoint, renewing those customers and optimizing the data and getting them the best price as well as the best customer engagement is key. And of course, our focus today with claims and first notice of loss, being able to expedite that claims process, make it easier for the customer, and frankly, make it easier for all of the industries in this ecosystem, whether you're the automotive car manufacturer, or you're the body shop having to fix that vehicle, or you're the supplier of that. How do we change and enable that data in a more timely fashion? And we kind of call this solving that many-to-many problem. So much data out there, so many uses. How do you make the best decisions and with the right data that you need to manage, especially that claim? So the Verisk Data Exchange, we've been really building this since about 2016. To date, we already have over 4.8 million active vehicles, 9.6 billion trips, and over 85 billion miles of data. Actively on a monthly basis, we're seeing 165,000 new customers, new vehicles being added to the exchange, over 562 million trips, and 4.4 billion miles. So we're working with key companies like Hyundai, General Motors, Honda, and these key partnerships are representing 1/3 of the U.S. new car market. So it's amazing how new car data is being enabled to help the customer better in the moment. So thinking about just some of the current challenges that we have happening in the market today, and it's going to be no surprise to many of you, retirement. We have staffing shortages. So we have those capabilities right now where I think I read recently that over 25% of the market will be of retirement age within the next 3 to 4 years. And so what that means is that we're going to have staffing shortages in repair facilities, at insurance companies, at the automakers, at the suppliers. So all of this means, that people talent is difficult and hard to find. Additionally, we're seeing tons of growing risk. So with that, we have a number of companies within the Verisk family, and one of them is aerial imagery. This happens to be an image here of recent floods in the last couple of years, but it starts to give you a better idea that these floods are happening more and more commonly. Many of the vehicles that we're seeing, coming through the market may need to have salvage titles or challenges there. So there's just a number of risks that we're experiencing across the market. And then specifically, thinking about the automotive industry, automakers and insurance companies both have the same challenges, right? When a claim happens, customers get frustrated, and they get frustrated with the vehicle manufacturer. They think maybe things aren't happening as quickly as they want them to. And in fact, CIECAst and Automotive News had done a recent survey and said, 39% of drivers switched the vehicle manufacturers within 12 months of a poorly handled claim. And similarly, 41% of drivers, no matter how the claim is handled, but I will say if they've expedited the claim, an insurance company tends to have the ability to keep that customer. If they don't, they're going to see a lot of switching once that claim has been resolved. So we have these common challenges across the industry, and the question is, how do we make it easier for the customer? And a lot of that is driven from the data that we have. So thinking about these new opportunities and how data can leverage insights for the future, it's critical to realize, obviously, technology is changing insurance, and this means across that insurance life cycle, whether you're a supplier of paint and parts, or you're the automotive manufacturer, or you're the insurance company or the body shop. Any of these folks are seeing big changes within their industry. You're seeing a lot more automation happening. You know, many shops are using tablets and integrated solutions to leverage insights around when cars are coming in, when parts are going to be available, when the car's moving out, when do they connect with their customer to let them know different statuses at different times of the claim incident. So there's a lot of ways that we're changing, and of course that can be challenging and very noisy for everybody involved, including the customer. But I think the reality is we're all aligned to serve, right? We're getting aligned, I should say, but we have the same objectives in mind. From an automotive manufacturer, supplier, you want to increase the value of that car ownership. You want to standardize and maximize the data coming out of the car so that you can serve that the insurance market and the supplier market, and really expand that customer engagement to help the customer experience be better, as well as road safety. And we are enabling that through the data exchange, understanding better driving behavior. We've created a portable and filed score. Data is protected, and claim accuracy is key to it all. Insurers similarly have the same challenges. They want to be able to have a historical point of view and understanding of how that driver drives even before they put that business on the books. They want to facilitate telematics programs. You know, I will tell you, working with the Department of Insurance across many states, we are seeing that the insurance regulators are excited about telematics just because of the fact that now you can have real information about how that person drives. It's not utilizing proxies like credit and age and other gender and other factors that play into it, but how does Dawn really drive? And that's the pricing that she should pay. And then last but not least, and critical to the future, is improving that engagement, providing accurate quotes, but really even expediting the claim. We've talked with a lot of insurance companies, a lot of customers, and they really want the ability to understand, because think about it, most people, the average person has a claim, one in every 5 years. And if you think about the new millennial market coming into this factor, I mean, they don't know what to do when a claim happens. So they look to, you know, their automaker, they look to their insurance company, parents, whatever, but how do they help get this resolved more quickly? And we see this, you know, happening across the engagement. So, you know, we're working with some key automakers to provide driving scores and feedback, again, engaging that customer, helping them know where they stand, and working on opportunities for improvement. A number of insurance companies are leveraging incentives and gamification, especially as you think about, you know, your teen drivers and your newer drivers. You want to help them get better and provide a positive environment for that coaching. And then, but last but not least, when that claim does happen, what part of the vehicle was impacted? Who were the occupants in that car? What seat positions were they in? So start to understand what that looks like, you know, right from the scene of the accident for better triaging. So thinking about this kind of along that customer experience, and we're going to start from sort of that buying of that new vehicle. So let's say that customer buys a Hyundai vehicle, and they at the dealership are like, well, you know, I'm possibly interested in sharing my data, or even post dealership. They opt into the Hyundai Blue Link, which allows them to have their data and share their data with key companies like us, aggregators, maybe not specifically insurers until they choose. So it's all about customer consent, and they drive when and how that data is enabled. So we collect that data, we analyze that data, we have that historical driving information, and ongoing data is sent to us from each trip, which is key. And then from there, the customer receives offers. So many people are utilizing their vehicle health reports. It's been interesting talking with Hyundai and a number of these automakers, how people are changing behavior patterns based on the vehicle health reports and how their vehicle's doing and what they should be doing to check up on that vehicle. But part of that then is also opting in to maximize the total cost of ownership of that vehicle and reduce some of those costs. So they opt in to share their data. And then be able to receive that information. They can get offers from insurance companies that are going to give them the better pricing based on how their driving is. So if they have great driving, they will receive offers and then be able to leverage that to save on their car insurance. And then a policy is issued. And then, of course, unfortunately, bad things happen to great people. And so what is the right opportunity to leverage the insights and the information if the customer wants to when that accident happens? So getting them back to pre-accident condition and providing a positive experience and greater brand loyalty to both their automaker and their insurance company. So if you think about the evolution of claims and where things have come, I mean, back from the day, and I will date myself, but I was an adjuster a long time ago, and we had paper manuals, we had difficult, estimates that we had to write up, and that is changing with the insights and the data coming forth out of the vehicles. Thinking about first and foremost crash notification. So that accident crash notification data helps initially understand what's happening. It's not just the driving data, but how is the vehicle, what's the condition, then, and really notifying of those events. So that's happening in today's world already. But now we see an evolution where the crash data is now tied with the contextual information. So, this is the vehicle sensor data, the detailed electronic data recorder information, and the ability to replay that event. So what really happened? Where was Dawn heading? Which direction? How many people were in the car? Who was wearing their seatbelts? All of those things play into the understanding of how best to assess that incident. And then where the future is heading is sort of that right touch claims, proactive protection and mitigation. So thinking about machine learning, training models. I will use my husband as an example. He was an auto body technician for 30-some years. He's actually now doing crash model development based on his experience in working with vehicles and what velocity of impact would cause what type of damages. So training and understanding the insights around what happened in the accident is key. Along with that, insurers and automakers are leveraging artificial intelligence. Timely data-driven decisions, I think, is critical. And then even strategic partner enablement for proactive mitigation, thinking about weather and storms and helping customers sort of avoid heading into those challenging environments is critical. And that's where the opportunity to serve that customer better comes into play. So if you think about this, there's different loss types. Obviously, we're talking today about, automobiles, both private passenger and commercial, but similar could be said for homes or even, workers' comp injuries. That information then, creates this instant notice of loss opportunity. So the data coming over, including policyholder collaboration. So think about many of your customers are taking photos at the scene of the accident. How do you capture those in a way that makes it usable and you don't have to ask for them multiple times? And then combine that with artificial intelligence, cognitive engines to really understand what's happening and what are those impacted parts of that vehicle, as well as, occupants, who was injured, where could the potential injuries be. And then if you think about this, there's going to be obviously some claims that'll be no touch, right? We're already seeing a lot of that happening with like glass claims, windshields, those kind of things. And then there's the, the low touch opportunity where customer, you might still need to have an adjuster involved, but they might be reviewing, analyzing the data. They might have a few questions of the customer maybe after they've seen some of the initial insights. But then you still have claims that are just those complicated ones that do need conventional adjustings. But how do you empower the adjuster with and arm them with the data that they have so they're not having to ask repetitive questions of the customer, of the witnesses, be able to have that insight when they are analyzing what the right next steps are. So that's what we mean by right touch. There's no one silver bullet, and this is an evolution over time, but it does mean that the data enables better decisions right when you need it. So that kind of gets to, so how does this work? Thinking about this. So that vehicle accident happens, maybe it's a minor fender bender, and the vehicle detects a crash, so maybe there's no injuries or minimal injuries. We bring that data into the data exchange and then can do a number of things with that. Like I said, normalize that data, really understand, kind of reconstruct and how that accident took place, have leverage algorithms and train models to help the adjusters know what happened, what took place, leverage artificial intelligence, and even change management. So as we think about those staff members retiring, how do you change processes so that you're able to maximize the data and minimize the need for that people talent? Or I should say, maximize that need for people talent in the right moment. So we see where, we're automating claims for the future, and obviously data comes from everywhere. We have, the connected car, that's that embedded component, to tethered, smartphone paired with dongles, or even we're seeing smartphone paired with, connected cars, to smartphones themselves or dongles. So a lot of these are all sources of data that can be brought in and leverage the vehicle in one way, shape, or form, whether it be the mobile app or the connected car itself, is detecting that crash, bringing it in, and then really utilizing the insights and the value across what has to happen for that claim. So if you think about the automatic crash detection and resolution, is there any fraud involved? Maybe you're not your customer, but the other party. What's that damage triaging look like? How do you resolve for that? Does that vehicle, where does it need to get towed to, based on the insurance company and the automaker? Many of them are coordinating efforts and aligning direct repair shops with the OEM certified repair shops. What injuries, so how do you assess that and set aside the right reserving levels? What's that liability look like? How do you adjust and close that claim quickly and properly for that customer? And all of this is really done in conjunction with partners. Really, it makes the biggest difference is collaborating. There's no one company, and I'm not telling you Verisk is that one company either, but it really means that collaborating across partners with companies, estimating companies like Mitchell and others, being able to maximize the insights, the data coming from the environment, the car itself, being able to leverage the right repair facilities, get that scheduled and the parts being ordered for that customer. All of this is critical to creating a best customer experience. So at Verisk, we see this, as I mentioned, instant notice of loss. So there's multiple phases here, and I think a number of different automakers as well as partners across the ecosystem are thinking about this. So if an accident does happen, that car is telling you something took place, there's multiple ways to get connected and with that customer and enable the claim process. So if you think about, the call center channels. So many of these, both mobile and automotive partners have call centers, right? That they've call into the car when that customer, they notice that there's been an accident. They want to make sure the customer's okay, help them resolve the claim, get that moving forward so they can get that vehicle repaired. Additionally, the mobile app, we're seeing a lot of opportunities where automakers, mobile app providers are identifying or detecting, Dawn, were you in an accident? Are you okay? We noticed something happened, and being able to help that customer in the moment, sort of walk them through what the process looks like so they're not, on their own. Additionally, leveraging SMS. It might start through the call center, but you're seeing SMS being enabled. So in fact, it's funny. I just got back from vacation yesterday, came home to a flat tire. Not quite, an accident, but similar process. Called the insurance company, had roadside assistance. They called the tow provider service. They found the local tow truck company. He came out. After that initial call, everything else was done by SMS. So really enabling me to manage, my communications throughout the whole process with multiple parties, the tow service, the tow provider himself, as well as the insurance company. Similarly, on the accident situation, this can be done as well, and is being done. And we're also seeing a number of automakers are thinking about this in the vehicle navigation. So you have the head unit of the vehicle, and they're trying to define if it makes sense to utilize that, and some are already doing this actively. But all four of these channels really enable the personalization for each automaker that each customer wants. Some people might want that high touch call. Others, like myself and many of you, might think about the mobile app or the SMS channel, just the ability for that flexibility of the customer. They want that Amazon-like experience. So how do you bring that to a claims situation and expedite that? So we see sort of four phases, sort of this first phase being sort of the basic phase where the vehicle is detected, there's been an accident, the customer is connected with the OEM's call center, just making sure that they get, roadside there, the police there, ambulance, you name it, right? All the PSAP services. But also as part of that, they're also enabling the connection to the insurance company. So being able to understand who that insurer is and get that customer connected to them right away. Additionally, maybe warm transfer isn't something that the customer wants to do right then and there, but could the data be sent behind the scenes? And the answer is yes. So we can enable a warm transfer and append that customer's data. So now it's not, I transfer Dawn over and Dawn has to replay all of my personal information. That can be pulled over, as well as the basic notification of that crash, right? So thinking about the airbag deployments, rollovers, GPS location, speed, some of those Delta V Max, whether all of those things are available, it depends on the OEM, but whatever that data is available, we can make them available to the insurance companies. And then from an advanced standpoint, thinking about that warm transfer, customer information, but probably most importantly, the electronic data recorder. So now that detailed information about the accident, again, all of this is really reliant upon the customer's consent. If they choose to allow that data to be shared with body shops, insurance companies to expedite the process, then then the data can be, and many of the OEMs are saying this is the customer's data. However they want to use it is what we want to enable. And last but not least, image and video. The ability for many of these vehicles, I have one as well, where you've got the car taking the photos and the videos itself. Again, that customer can enable that to expedite the claim and really show maybe how it wasn't their fault. So gives them new ways to substantiate and really identify what happened at the scene of the accident. So just kind of thinking about that warm transfer phase, how does that work? So vehicle is in an accident, thinking about call center, but could be mobile, could be the in-vehicle navigation, that OEM or telematics service provider says, hey, Dawn, we see that maybe you've been in an accident. Are you okay? If so, we'd love to be able to help you with a number of services, insurance being one of them. And so, behind the scenes, what we do, because so many insurers entrust us with the coverage data, we can verify coverage. And again, it's only for insurers that participate, but the VIN is sort of that match key from the automaker, and they get the customer's consent to connect them to their insurance company. And with that, we're able to provide just high-level information. Doesn't even have to be the detail: policy number, named insured, insurance company, what that unique phone number or contact is, and then be able to connect that customer to the insurer. And then through the process, be able to leverage the partnership that many of these automakers, telematics service providers, and insurers are doing to maximize the partners. So many direct repair shops are becoming certified collision network shops for the OEMs, maximizing that experience and helping that customer get it resolved faster. So if you think about more the advanced, and we talked briefly a little bit about the EDR data and the detailed data, and each OEM, I will say, has different nuances, but basically comes down to this: the change in vehicle velocity can indicate and does trigger insights into a potential accident. And I will say, having worked with a number of OEMs, less than 5 mile an hour hits, most of the time the vehicle itself is not necessarily recording this data. And why? Because many of these automakers are like, those less than 5 mile an hour hits, we've created quality vehicles, the bumpers can take that, but the customer still might want to press that SOS button in vehicle, get the assistance that they need, report the accident, get the police there, whatever they need to do. When you start looking at greater than 5 mile an hour to about that 9.9 mile an hour, the data is recorded. There is the ability to leverage that SOS button, and then greater than 9, you're seeing the near airbags, those rear end hits, and airbag deployments take place. And so, again, really helping the customer expedite what the right process is based on the accident type. And many of you may be very familiar with electronic data recorder information, but it starts to give context to what happened. So if you think about whether it was a front end hit or a rear end hit, did that airbag deploy? I mean, and a lot of in rear end hits, that airbag does not go off, but yet there's still sometimes pretty significant damage. That GPS location, that's critical to help understand, what was happening before the accident, and then, what is happening since. Occupants, really understanding who's in the car, seatbelt sensors, seat sensors themselves. What are those repairs that are going to need to be done? I mean, there's a lot of different opportunities, and you can kind of see with, some of these manufacturers, they're enabling the information, 5 seconds prior to time zero to, time zero itself. So thinking about multiple samples of that information, helping you realize and get better insights around that accident, especially. And then what we do is we're enabling that contextual data to be a part of insurance companies' workflows today. I mean, that's the critical challenge, right? Is you can have all this data, but if it's not enabled for the insurance company, the adjuster, to really know what happened, that's going to elongate the timeline, thus create greater friction for the customer because they had maybe told it to the call center representative, the adjuster, the second adjuster that they had to talk to. So we have a solution, Claim Search, which most insurance companies use today, that help them understand what's happening across, past accidents, and then bringing that telematics data into this is critical. And then leveraging that to create this dashboard to know, okay, what potentially are we looking at for damages? What are those injuries that might be involved? Where was the impact taking place? What are the parts that could be potentially impacted, not just structural, which is oftentimes what happens, but also the mechanical components too. I know, having been married to a body man for a number of years, until you tear down that car, you don't always know what's wrong with that vehicle. And as a former adjuster, I mean, we want to help that customer expedite as quickly as possible, but how do you do that if you don't know what, if the radiator support or the axle or the A-pillar or other things were damaged to the extent that you need to know. So helping bring those insights forward is critical. Just, I know I went through this kind of fast, but wanted to leave you with some key takeaways. And again, this is an evolving marketplace. There are no silver bullets, though we wish, but customer engagement is key. I mean, customers want to be involved. They want to understand. They may not want to see necessarily pictures at teardown, but they definitely want to understand where that vehicle is in the claims process. So look at the opportunities to serve your customer better, leveraging technology and data, especially at that accident time when they're so confused and they really don't know what to do because they've maybe never been in an accident before. And second, data drives decisions. I mean, good or bad, an insurance company, if it's their customer's fault, they will want to know right away to help that customer and align on the right type of services that they offer to that customer, maximizing the data from auto manufacturers and telematics providers. Time is of the essence, especially as you think about, getting that customer in and the competition that's out there, just even from the repair facilities. There's so much opportunity. And, if you don't handle it right, customers are going to defect to both a different automaker, potentially a different insurer, and, unfortunately, maybe even a different shop. So thinking about that from the data perspective is going to be critical. And last but not least, you're not in it alone. I mean, seek partners. There are so many partners out there that, want to provide data, and again, all with customer consent and approval, but be able to help the process, make it easier and expedite claims so that customers, it's a bad situation, but how do you make it the best it can be, can make or break, how that customer does business with you in the future. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Fred to see if we have any questions.
Yes. Let's see here. Okay. Yeah. No. I want to thank you, Dawn, for that great presentation. There was only one question, and I will answer that shortly. It was when will the presentation be available for download? But before I do that, let's. This concludes the today's CIECAst. Please check our lineup of other CIECAsts for 2019 by visiting the Events tab on the CIECA website. Also on that tab, you will find the annual conference Connects for 2019. It will be held September 16th through the 18th in Charlottesville, Virginia. Please go to CIECAconnects, CONNEX.com. This year at Connects, In addition to the informational sessions, there will be a tour of the CIECAst, the Insurance Institute of Highway Safety's facility. This is one conference you just won't want to miss. If you're interested in AMI credit, there we go. Please visit the AMI website and take their quiz for this CIECAst. Don't forget to follow CIECA on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Thank you for keeping abreast of the CIECA developments. Our standards are built by volunteers for all industry segments. For those that have contributed to our standards, we thank you. If you've not yet been involved, would like to participate, please contact Charlie Quirt, Stacy Phillips, or myself. As always, this video the video of this presentation will be available on the CIECA website within 48 hours. Again, thank you, Dawn. Thank you, our audience, for participating. Have a great day.